All right, well, today I wanted to talk about how the age pill affects you in your 30s. I'll be talking about my own personal experiences, ranging from physical changes that I've noticed, how getting older impacts your attractiveness to women, access to certain women, libido, and just overall motivation. As I've gotten into my early 30s, I've definitely noticed a number of things about getting older, some positive, some not so positive. My skin has held up fairly well, but I'm starting to slowly get some slight wrinkles on my forehead, as well as very slight dark circles underneath my eyes. Although they're not very noticeable if I maintain a good diet, good exercise, and good sleep regimen. I have a unique view on the age pill, as I started balding at a very early age, in my early 20s, and I was able to restore my hair over many years. So in some ways, I look younger now in my 30s than I did in my 20s. I think most guys are the opposite though. They tend to have good hair in their early to mid 20s, and they start to thin out and start to lose it in their late 20s to early 30s. From an access to women perspective, one of the things I noticed was once I got into my early 30s, I was matching with fewer women on dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. Fewer women that are in their early 20s. When I was in my late 20s, I would get a good amount of matches with women in the 20 to 22 range. But once I hit 30, once I hit that magical 3-0, that definitely changed a good bit. I still match with women in their early 20s, but nowhere near as much as I did in my late 20s. I think the vast majority of my matches now are 24 and older. And I think a lot of girls in their early 20s, if they're on dating apps, they tend to look for guys that are in the 22 to 29 range. And I think once you hit 30, you just don't match with them as frequently. Like I said, I still definitely match with girls who are, 20, 21, 22, 23, but nowhere near as much as I did when I was 28 on the dating apps. And this also isn't to say that you can't get girls in their early 20s. If you're a guy in your 30s, you'll just tend to have to meet them more in person, as a lot of them set their age limits lower. I noticed that I still attract women in their early 20s in person, but in my day-to-day life, I don't have as much access to them, as I work in a corporate job where I work with mostly middle-aged people in their, late 30s, 40s, 50s. So when you get into your 30s, you're more likely to have advanced a bit in your career, and you won't typically be working with younger women in that age range as much. And this could be beneficial to your career in a lot of ways, as you just don't have that type of distraction. When I was in my mid to late 20s, I was working with much younger women, early 20s. And even though I looked worse back then, I had more access to younger women just by working with them and being in their general vicinity. Seeing younger women in bars and clubs, this is also something that I've noticed has changed a bit. After I look maxed in my early to mid 20s, there was definitely many years where I could effortlessly attract girls in their early 20s, as I wasn't too much older than them. I still looked relatively young after the hair transplants. I would get a good amount of looks and one-night stands with girls in their early 20s when I was out at the bars. I can say in my 30s, because I look a bit older in terms of my skin and the fact that I don't go out to bars and clubs as often, I noticed that I attract girls in their early 20s definitely a little bit less often than I used to. However, in places like Nashville and Las Vegas, when I traveled there, I noticed that I can still attract them. So I think location plays a huge role. In terms of finding a woman for a long-term relationship, you may not be as physically attractive as you were in your 20s, but women definitely see you as more of a long-term prospect. And you can date pretty attractive women that may not have viewed you as their top option when you were in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. Now that you're in your 30s, and if you still look pretty good for your age, this can be very advantageous for you. Part of it is most guys in their 30s don't look that great anymore. They've kind of either let themselves go weight-wise, they're not taking care of their skin, and a lot of guys started to bald and started to kind of go downhill. But I think if you're at a low body fat percentage, you have a bit of muscle, you have things like good hair, good teeth, this can definitely set you apart from other guys in their 30s. Essentially, if you're a guy that looks good in their 30s, you just have much less competition than you did in your 20s if you're looking for a long-term relationship. One thing I've also noticed getting into your 30s is just an overall lower libido and lower motivation to do things like go out and drink and go out and socialize all the time. In my mid to late 20s, I can say my libido is like super, super high. And I would be like always constantly thinking about hooking up. And as I've gotten into my 30s, my libido has slowed down a lot. And it depends on the day, but on days that I'm getting 7 hours of sleep and hitting the gym, my libido is still pretty high. But when I don't get good sleep and I don't make it to the gym, my libido sometimes feels like super low. And I think my diet has a lot to do with it as well. If I'm eating a good amount of protein, good amount of vegetables, good amount of fruits, and I'm cutting out the junk, I notice my libido is a bit higher. But when I'm eating like garbage, like on the weekends, my libido is definitely a lot lower. And I know testosterone tends to decrease very slightly after 30, so that could be a part of it. But a high libido can be good and bad in many ways, and I don't think it's talked about much, but and vice versa, a low libido can be good and bad as well. I think a high libido will give you more motivation to, try to attract more women, but it can also consume your brain and make it so that you're like constantly thinking about sex. And as for a low libido, it can be good if you concentrate on something more productive, such as building a skill, working on content, or like building a business. But on the flip side, a low libido can make it harder for you to be intimate with women and can cause issues like ED. So I think with libido, it's finding a sweet spot where you're not thinking about sex 24/7, but also not having like a non-existent libido as well. And I feel like in my 20s, I could hook up with really any girl that I found like remotely decent looking. But now my libido really only has the urge for women that I find pretty attractive overall. And like I said, I think that comes with like slightly lower testosterone as you age, but it's definitely something that I've noticed. And another note on motivation, as I've gotten into my 30s, I also noticed that I just don't really have the motivation to go out and drink and meet women at bars and clubs like I used to want to in my mid to late 20s. The only time I'm really motivated to go out and meet women is when I travel. If I go to a city like Las Vegas, or if I travel to Europe internationally, I'll definitely want to explore the nightlife. But in most places in the US, like I'd rather just chill and have a relaxing night with some good friends, solo or with a girl I'm seeing. I think part of it is physical, and I think part of it is mental as well. Really, when you get into your 30s, you've been to bars and clubs so many times that you're just not excited about it unless it's a new place that you're traveling to or like a special occasion. It's like, I don't want to deal with the hangover the next day, waking up super late the next day, screwing up my sleep schedule and circadian rhythm. Mentally, it can be draining to like listen to loud ass music, deal with like really drunk people spilling drinks on you, people shouting, people acting stupid. As you get older into your 30s, at least for me, like I tend to value my peace more, and going to like a loud packed bar or nightclub just doesn't seem appealing to me 90% of the time. There's definitely the 10% exception, like I said, when I'm traveling. You put me in any European city, I'll be super motivated to go out that night. Or like I said, if it's some sort of special occasion where I'm super excited to go out, but it's just definitely not the norm. The one piece of advice in this area is, I think, to try and have as many experiences dating in your 20s, because I can assure you that you just won't have the same energy and motivation in your 30s. I know, like in like the manosphere space, they always kind of talk about like give up your 20s, and girls will come in your 30s, and you can date all the women you want. It doesn't really work like that. I think in your 20s, that's where you're gonna have the most energy to want to date and meet women and go out to bars and clubs. I can say, like, I'm in my early 30s now. I just don't have the energy I used to have 5, 7, 8 years ago. So that's a big piece of advice I would give. So in summary, the biggest things I've noticed about as I've gotten older, gotten into my 30s, is that yes, once you turn 30, you get less. You kind of definitely get less matches on dating apps from girls in their early 20s. You tend to get slightly less looks from younger women in their early 20s, and yeah, you definitely notice a drop in libido and motivation to go out. So hopefully that's helpful. I know a lot of you have asked about my perspective on the age pill and about, if I still attract younger women in their 20s. So that's my take on it. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below your experience with the dreaded age pill, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care.